Hi everybody, Kat here. Welcome to the channel. It is Friday morning, and today we're going to be looking at a little something I like to call the time loop. It's all about Harry and Meghan today. Now, first of all, more and more, everything I've been talking about for the last 3 years is all coming to pass. It's all coming together. I've got 3 playlists, and they all seem to be converging. I've got Who's Your Daddy? I've got The Time Loop and King Charles III Life Imitating Art. Worth go looking at those. Today we're going to be talking Time Loop. Now, that is my analysis of Harry and Meghan as they relate to the Duke and Duchess of Windsor, Edward and Wallis. Now, what I've been doing goes far beyond the superficial similarities like pictures and the dresses and the looks and that kind of thing. There's a lot of that online, but this goes much deeper than that. I mean, even their attitudes, their temperaments, their sentiments, their desires, their behaviors, they're quite similar. Now, I made a bunch of notes here. I've written it out because there's just so much here I don't want you to miss. So now anyway, it seems that Meghan's use and her insistence of using the titles, for herself and the children. By the way, there are no children. This is all right with Harry. In his eyes, at least for a time. I don't think their relationship is quite as it was in the beginning, but in his eyes, she can do no wrong. She's perfect. You see the way he defers to her now all the time, even though he's the royal. He wants to make sure that every respect is accorded to her, as it would be to a senior royal. I mean, this is kind of his life's work now, propping up his wife, and the public rejection of Meghan has really thrown him into a frenzy. That's all this privacy and protection, court cases that's it's ruling his life now. It's become his life's work. For her, it's all about the appearances, the 4-car motorcade and the motorcycles and the bodyguards and it's to a ridiculous degree. But, similarly smitten, Edward just worshipped Wallis and wanted her to be treated as a queen, and he was furious. He was furious when they married that his brother, King George I think, sixth, Queen Elizabeth's father, never allowed Wallis to have an HRH. She was Duchess of Windsor, but she was not allowed to even get an HRH, although, and Meghan was accorded one by the Queen. It's since had it put in abeyance since they left the royal family. But we discovered this week that she's in fact still using her HRH. And just like Wallis, Meghan just wallowed in the titles and the show of it all. And she always, with Edward's encouragement, behaved grander than she actually was. There's stories how in their house everything was very grand and they had lots of servants and she had her sheets ironed twice a day and this kind of stuff, and they'd have these big grand dinner parties, to mimic state visit kind of parties, and they'd always have like up to 50 people, and this is what their life sort of became, was just dinner parties and entertaining pseudo celebrity status, which is right where we see Harry and Meghan right now. You know, and another good comparison is the faux royal tours that we've seen them go on, Colombia, Nigeria, and all that, and events in New York where she gets the motorcade and all of this. And Harry's made sure that Meghan is treated like a senior royal. Their tours are set up that way. Even though the protocol is relaxed, she's fawned over in a way that she's come to expect. Like she, just like Wallace, is behaving and believes herself to be grander than she actually is. So this whole time loop thing goes right into the personality. It's very, very interesting. And Harry's trying to recreate the feel of a royal tour for her because not only for her, it makes him feel better because he has walked away from everything he's ever known. It makes them both feel important, even though they are becoming more and more insignificant. And in the same way, Edward accepted an invitation to Germany in 1937. It was set up by a friend of his through another acquaintance, and on the guise, publicly, the Duke claimed it to be him to be observing the social and economic conditions of the working class. Um, but we know part of the invite was German propaganda efforts. We know that Edward had a leaning towards the Hitler and his government at the time, the whole appeasement thing. That was one of the main reasons that he was taken down. It wasn't Wallace at all. It was his political leanings and what they feared out of him. But anyway, this visit to Germany, they could set it up so it was like a complete state visit to show Wallace what a state visit, what a royal visit really was, and for her to be treated that way. And, so there you go. He had a wider agenda, of course, but as far as Wallace was concerned, he wanted to show her what a state visit was like. He wanted her to be treated like a queen on a state visit, just like Harry and Meghan's faux tours. I mean, the similarities between these guys on all these levels is just really uncanny, you know. And here we go. Now, just like Edward and Wallace, their relationship isn't what they'd have you believe either. In biographies, it's been found that Edward and Wallace had a really unusual relationship sexually and just interpersonally, just as Meghan is rumored to have a past as a yacht girl. There's FBI files on Wallace claiming that she'd been a sex worker in Asia, learned some tricks. Now, Wallace was said to have been domineering, sadistic, and even cruel sexually and just interpersonally again to Edward, often sending him to bed in tears. And similarly, we know how domineering and nasty Meghan is towards Harry and how manipulative she is. That's cruel. That's cruel. And like neither Edward nor Wallace were faithful to each other. And we discovered both were bisexual. Now, there is a ton of gossip and rumor and speculation about possible affairs with Harry and Meghan and other people. There's always been speculation about Harry's sexuality, so there's just another personality similarity, and but what we do, like with Harry and Meghan, what we do know is all things are not as rosy as Meghan and her husband would have you believe, so that's kind of where we're at. that's why I call this the time loop. The similarities are a little more subtle this time we're looking at. But I mean, that really, even these little subtleties, not the big similarities that everybody notices, even these little things, it just helps build my theory of the time loop. So I really suggest you go look at it, and I suggest you look at my other two playlists, Who's Your Daddy and King Charles III, because you know what? They're all starting to come together, and what started as three separate interests, and who knew that they would become so intertwined in such a short period of time? Things are getting interesting, folks. I hope you enjoyed this video. Like, subscribe, and share it, and leave me a comment. I want to know what you're thinking about all this. Have a great day, everybody. Bye for now.